Monday morning, everybody. Yeah, we made it through the weekend. Aren't you excited? Here it is. A nice, helpful, a serving of Leigh-Ann Mole and Gareth Cliff and me and you and breakfast. What are you doing for breakfast for this morning? Have you thought about that at all?
Scrambled eggs and salmon, anyone?
Oh, wow. Okay, that sounds pretty good.
That could be nice.
Yeah, I'm thinking like avo on toast a little bit later on. That's all I'm thinking about. Look at us starting the morning by thinking about how we're going to nosh on food later on. Good stuff. Well, do we have things to tell you about this morning? I was saying to Leigh-Ann, she sent a whole bunch of charts and facts and figures and things that are going to give us information we desperately needed. Well, they're all questions that I've always wanted answered, and she's gone and dug them up. This is what she's got. This is your real, this is your thing. This is your tremendous ability.
Informing and delighting. I must say, though, I'm not feeling that delightful this morning.
Why?
Well, firstly, as you can see, I'm not in my own abode because of load shedding.
Yes.
So I had to wake up extra early and drive, which you really want to do at 5 o'clock in the morning. Secondly, you can maybe see some redness on my face and a swelling on my eye and redness. I woke up this morning. No, I woke up this morning to a blood-curdling scream. Jesus. 2 seconds later, I realized it came from me because my throat I could feel it in my throat. Another 2 seconds passed and I realized I'd been mauled by one of my particularly boisterous cats. He's figured out, and it gets worse and worse every day, that to wake me up because he's a food demon. Okay, so as soon as the birds start chirping, that's when he decides it's time for food. And he actually ran across my face. He clawed he's put his claws into my eyelid.
Oh my God.
I've got scratches all down my arm, all down my back. I had to get into the shower. It looked like a murder scene this morning.
Oh.
Oh,
you
God.
Shouldn't keep that animal. It's trying to dominate you and control your life. And also, I don't like
trying to murder me.
I know, and this is when you hear those stories about cats that have eaten their owners, right?
Well, the reason I'm sharing that's exactly the reason I'm sharing this, that you know what happened to me if you find me half eaten. He even goes as far as to pull out my sleeping Jesus tube. So he wants me dead. I'm telling you.
What a bastard!
What a bastard! I was so cross with nature this morning.
He's not even waiting for you to be dead. He'll do that for nature. He'll help it along. Well, I mean, Friday last week I had to do the same thing you did this morning, like hop in the car and go to the studio because I hadn't had power. I hadn't had power for some, 48 hours or something by that time, and even the UPS had died. And I don't know what the reason is that we suddenly gone from stage 0, because yesterday there was a notification that came through about like, oh, national load shedding has been suspended. And I thought, wow, okay, that's great. And then not 3 hours later, they're like, oh, no, we're going straight to level 5 tomorrow. And I'm like, hang on a second. How do you just skip through level 1 to level 4 and go straight to 5? What the fuck is this? Right?
I don't understand. Pisses me off.
I want to know, like, who I can be cross with. Who am I allowed to be? Because it doesn't help. This whole idea, and they've been very clever about this. They've distributed the blame so that we don't know who to actually lynch. And that's the truth. We want to lynch someone. We want to have a public flogging where we put people in stocks and we throw rotten fruits at them and that kind of shit. Who do we get to do that with? Because we don't know who's ultimately to blame, right?
Yeah, and even if you try and find out, the blame gets shifted.
Mm-hmm.
There are too many parties involved,
I'm very annoyed, and I think for a lot of people at the moment, it's not just this inconvenience, which they've told us is now going to be here for another 7 years, right? And by the way, I mentioned this already. My whole family are all solar except me. I'm the only one who still is like totally at the mercy of Eskom. I mean, I've got this UPS for the show, but that doesn't last if you have more than 48 hours of power gone. And that wasn't even load shedding. That was like cable thieves. And I suggested, and Simpiwe agreed with me on Friday, that we could kill those people publicly as well. We could hire assassins or whatever and get cable thieves, the Izinyoga. We could get them taken out, right? And everybody seems to have been very much in favor of that. One guy kept on saying we must shambok the underneath of their feet. That's me. And I think that sounds delightful. So I'm looking into that as a possible solution. Anyway, I mean, it is the most beautiful time of the year. It is my favorite time. We are heading down towards December, which is by far everyone's favorite month. I mean, there are some people who don't like Christmas for various reasons, and I understand that. Some people who really don't like the idea of being stuck with family, I understand that too. But for me, best time ever. So I'm really excited about it. And it's coming at us at a rate of knots. I mean, before you blink, it's going to be, into that final stretch. And then really, you've just got New Year. And then basically, you blink your eyes and then it's like, oh, welcome to 2023. You're still writing 2022 at the top of every page.
I always know from this, I've got to set a reminder to change my water filter.
Oh, right. Okay.
Oh, yeah. And
oh, right.
When it said November, I thought, oh well, that's next month. No, darling. It's now.
Here. It's here already. So, how was your weekend? Do you do anything fun?
Actually, went for sundowners yesterday with my estate agent, who is probably 25 years my senior.
Wow.
And we had a jolly good old time. We really did. We chatted about it's nice to actually moan to someone about younger generations and how young people don't know these things. Because I work with young people. I work with people in their 20s. So I can't exactly have a good moan, So that was quite nice. But yes, I understand that it's becoming like an older person's thing to sit and moan. But yeah.
You sound like a very old lady when you talk like this.
I did that and it was fun.
Yeah, well, you're allowed to. I mean, that's part of the, one of the few benefits about getting really old is that you can complain about everybody.
Yes.
Carl says, Gareth, you've been saying you're going solar for over a year now. Can you stop dicking around and get it done? Carl, it's a financial thing. It's not that I haven't decided to do it. Like, it's fucking expensive. So, who has 200,000 Rand lying around? Not me. I don't know if you do, but that's the only thing that's holding me back. It's not like I'm sitting around going, oh, well, should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I? I mean, that's not what I'm doing. So thank you for your concern. Let's build something for lynching with a rope and a blade, says Corona's boring.
Oh, yeah.
Ruth says, I was at a live show on Saturday night. Thank God for the large center generators, but it could have ruined the show. Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was watching the Jewish Achiever Awards on Saturday, I think it was. And that was a live to YouTube thing. And they were delayed by, I think, an hour and a half because of load shedding. One of the generators blew. Oh, God.
Oh, shit. Yeah. Well, Tracy has a suggestion here for you with a cat. Water spray gun. I love my cat, but my cat is adorable, but somehow at 4:30 a.m. she turns into some sort of cat demon tiger hulk.
Yes.
Slaps my face. Her bowl is full. Yeah, you see, she wants food. You have to, I know that cats are very different to dogs, and it's easier to train a dog because a dog actually cares about what you think, whereas a cat doesn't. You've got to get the upper hand on this fucking cat, Leigh-Ann, or it'll kill you. I promise you. It's going to eat you in your sleep.
I just think because I kind of think I'm experienced with cats. I think I've earned the cat lady badge, and he will outgrow it. He's just a young brash male or a Tom at the moment, so
Oh,
he'll outgrow it.
well, you better
Just
hope
have to
so.
wait for them to get old and die, then they'll be fine.
Yeah. Can we talk about Jacques Poe's new book? Holy shit, why are we not turning up like a mob at Lutuli House? Well, I still have to get into that book, but we are going to get him on at some point. So if you don't want to read the book, then you can just listen to the précis when we talk to Jacques Poe. But yes, I mean, we should really we should be pulling ANC councillors, ministers, every kind of official out onto the street and just like giving them like slaps in the face. We really should. And I'm not encouraging violence here. I promise you, this is all very sarcastic. But, there are people who are thinking, well, why not? Why not encourage a little bit of violence? Look at what these people have done to us. So, Nico's got a much simpler suggestion for your cat. Put it in the toilet, close the lid, and flush. That'll teach him a lesson. It's terrible.
Yeah, I've thrown a few cats into the shower before in my lifetime.
Yeah, well, yeah, let's not do that one. There's a lot of violence this morning in the comments.
Everyone's so
Can't they
angry.
can't they just suspend the load shedding for the duration of the World Cup? I'm sure the ANC comrades watch football. Well, yesterday was the opening of the World Cup, and guess what? I didn't watch it, which is the first time ever. I didn't even realize it was here, so I feel very stupid about that. Yeah, like I'm struggling to get excited about this, and all anyone is talking about is just how crooked Qatar are. You see these FIFA guys; they're trying really hard to just paper over the cracks. They're like, "Oh, it's going to be a really great," and even the TV anchors are all like, "It's going to be terrific." People are excited about the new opportunities and the kinds of possibilities that are being thrown into the ring by Qatar. Meanwhile, everyone in the world is going, this doesn't feel like it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to football. It feels like it took a lot of money to put this in a shit country where people just do, horrible things and where the rules are different for everyone. So imagine going to the World Cup and not being able to drink, for example. I mean, that's insane.
Well, I mean, can you imagine the visitors from the UK? They're going to be mad because they said they would sell beers just outside the stadium before the games. And they've just turned around in the last day or two and said they're not going to. There's also the migrant labor issue that's coming up, that they used migrant laborers to build the stadiums, and that some, I think up to 40 have lost their lives doing so. They're covering it up and saying that it was natural deaths. And then, of course, there's the LGBT issue.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, I've always thought soccer might be a little bit gay, but not that much. So we'll have to see what happens.
Well, I mean, imagine you can't even hold hands, even between what are we called? Heterosexual people. You can't even hold hands in public. That's even frowned upon.
It's very vice law type stuff. Anyway, I mean, look, I'm not going to get upset about it. I'll start watching when my team, which is Argentina, start playing. And then we'll see. I might get into it. So I've got to find out when that is. I'll speak to my brother today and we'll watch the first match together. But I'll get into it. I know I will. Over the weekend, I was in Umhlanga, which is very nice. I went down to Deben. I had some things I had to do there. And, well, it is nice, but the beach is closed. Because of, during those riots, there were some problems. There was some human feces that were dumped into the river. The river dumped that into the sea. The E. coli levels went through the roof. Yeah, so you can't swim. Now, I wonder what this is going to do to holiday makers and their plans for, Durban, Umhlanga, Ballito, Umhloti, those areas, because they are still lovely places. There's this huge new shopping mall they've put up in Umhlanga too. But I don't know what people are going to do, because if you go down there and you can't go to the beach, what's the point? You may as well be in Joburg. I mean, who goes to, Durban for the shopping mall? Really?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out what's going to happen there, because it's not great. It's just awful. I mean, I took a picture of the beach. There was not a single soul on the beach. And there's that beautiful promenade all the way from like the lighthouse at the oyster box all the way down to the nature reserve. This long path, which they've always looked after beautifully, and the joggers down there and people on with their dogs and people on bikes and whatever else. And it was basically deserted. And I just thought, ugh, this is so sad because this is probably
Literally
one of our best.
Turn to shit.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. Yeah. All because there's human shit floating down there.
Oh my God.
And it's just so, it's like, what kind of a country are we? It's like that we can't manage to keep one of our most important tourist attractions, the beach, the sea, clean. So what's this going to do to Durban over the holidays? It's going to ruin their economy. That's what it's going to do. It's going to make a lot of I think about restaurant owners who've already been through hell in the last 2 years. I think about people who are trying to, Airbnb a property that they were thinking of as this is my income. And now they can't do any of that because the place has just gone to shit. So it's really bad. Every person I've ever met that comes from Durban has been an awesome person. I would love to go there, says Jean. Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I've never met shit people from Durban either, but really, it can't stay this way. Someone's got to take this in hand. I wonder what the municipality is doing. What a joke, says G Star. When will black ANC voters actually wake up and vote the ANC out? I'm sick of this backward garbage. They're turning this country to shithole. Okay, G Star, just take a big deep breath because it is Monday. We're not going to start the week this way, all right? I refuse to. Let's get into some of the stuff that Leigh-Ann has thought about this weekend and that she's brought for us today. Some really interesting info that I think you're going to appreciate. And these are questions that I have been thinking about all my life. So let's get into it. Some fascinating facts on the human body with Leigh-Ann. Here it is. Fascinating facts about the human body with Leigh-Ann Mole.
I thought this was a Reddit stream, and people were adding their enticing and fun and factual calendars. Not calendars, what are they called? Infographs and
Yes.
posters on the human body. And you're right, they answer a lot of questions that we ask ourselves. And you think,
Sure.
Does this sort of information exist? But it does.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know if you want to share one of them with us. And
right, let's just start with the first one. Here we go. First one is from Leigh-Ann Maltz. It's the human body's ingredients, right?
I picked this one especially for you. Because I mean, have you ever wondered? I know that we're made up of a lot of water, but surely there are other elements that we're made of. I'm sure you've thought of that, Gareth.
Yeah, this is one I kind of knew about. So this is not so much novel information to me. It's basically a breakdown of the human body into the periodic table elements. You've got oxygen, and you mentioned hydrogen because water, H2O. Oxygen and hydrogen are two of the most obvious constituents of the human body. Most of it in water, but also there's oxygen that we breathe, which is O2, which stays in the body and is used in the blood cells, passed around to all the other cells as fuel. For all the cells, many kind of processes and machinations and all the stuff that goes on in them. So oxygen here, according to this thing, 65% of the body is oxygen. So we couldn't survive without that. Carbon makes up the rest because carbon is the basis for all organic chemistry. So no surprises there, 18.5%. Hydrogen comes in third with 9.5%. And then nitrogen at 3.3%. So nitrogen makes up 70% of the air that we breathe. And your body actually gets it from various nitrogen salts, but that's really interesting. And then there's smaller parts that make up the rest, right?
All the stuff that we take in our vitamins and, our daily tablets that we take, they're already in us. But they obviously are in short supply.
And then there are obviously the micronutrients too. There's phosphorus in there. There's little bits like iodine, which you need in your glands. There's calcium, which you have in your teeth and your bones. So if you break it all down, all those other things make up a couple of percentage points of the overall body composition.
So do you have all these ingredients in your lab? Could you cook up a human with those ingredients?
Yeah, the only problem is that I can't give it life. So, I've strapped these carcasses to a massive lightning conductor, and there's one with like a nail through a bolt through his head. So I'm hoping he'll be the one that eventually rises up. But I've strung them up with wires and things. And the other day it did go, I'm alive! But then it didn't last very long. It was gone after that. Also, that, you leave bodies around. You think you've got a problem with your cats. I mean, you see how, stray animals around, they smell these dead bodies and they can't wait to come in and try and eat them. So I can only keep them for a few days and then time to move on.
You've got crocodiles coming up from the river to suss out your hanging humans.
Right. Exactly. But no luck so far, Leigh-Ann. I'll be sure to let you know if I can cook up a human.
Okay,
all right. How about this?
do.
This is really important for those people who are taking drugs and don't want to be caught.
Yes. Like if you have to take tests at work, if you've been on warnings before. Luckily, that hasn't happened to me, but you do wonder how long these things stay in your system for. And funnily enough, the drug that stays in your system for the longest, and I mean really long, is cannabis. That's way above cocaine, alcohol, methamphetamines. So that stays in your blood for 336 hours. It stays in your urine for 30 days. It can be detected in your urine. So that's interesting. Out of all of the drugs listed.
So basically, if you smoke weed, it's going to take you 2 weeks for you to get that out of your blood. There will be evidence that you smoked weed in your blood for 2 weeks after you've done it.
Compared to something like LSD, which is 3 hours only.
Yeah, it goes straight in and straight out. So let's go through the numbers. So alcohol, about 12 hours to go through your blood. Amphetamines, 12 hours. Barbiturates, 48. Cocaine, 48 hours. So 2 whole days. Cannabis, 336 hours, which is 2 weeks. Heroin, 12. Oh, that heroin. Oh, when I was doing some on Friday, I just thought, I hope this gets out of my system quickly. MDMA, 48 hours. So that's two days. Methamphetamines, 37, and morphine, 8 hours. Then your urine keeps tabs on these things. In other words, if you have to give a urine sample, here are the numbers you need to look at. LSD, 3 days, longer than the 3 hours it spends in the blood. Alcohol, 5 days. So they can tell if you had a big puza night. 5 days later, they can tell from your urine. Amphetamines, 3. Barbiturates, 4. Cocaine, 4. And then again, cannabis, really well in the lead with 30 days in your urine.
Jeez.
This is terrible news for people who smoke a lot of weed. I mean, if you've got a really strict boss, I have a strict no drugs policy, you're in more trouble with weed than you are with MDMA, for God's sake.
Sure.
We've got heroin at 4 days. That's MDMA 4 days. Methamphetamine 6 days, and morphine 6 days. I'm doing this because our listeners are big druggies and they need to know this stuff. And then
they need.
Then, interestingly enough, LSD seems to be the one that's in and out quickest. It's got the best results. The longest thing you have to worry about is the evidence of LSD in your hair, which lasts 3 days, which is not really that much. So in 3 days, there is no evidence of LSD having been in your body. 3 days. That seems to me quite, efficient. Alcohol.
It's the drug of choice for Fridays. If you want to be clean by Tuesday.
Right. Hit the LSD, everybody. So all of them, with the exception of LSD. So alcohol and barbiturates and cannabis and heroin, MDMA and morphine, all of them take 90 days to get out of your hair, which is a long ass time, 3 whole months. So
I didn't even know
it's useful.
I've heard of people saying before that you can see in your hair growth when you had like a cocaine binge for a month or whatever. But I don't even know what I'd be looking for. I know that on a micro level, it can be detected in the lab.
I think, you need someone who really knows what they're doing. So you don't have to sit there and stress, what's going to be in my hair for 90 days, when you've had three drinks on a Friday. Because any boss who's going to test in your hair is going to need proper equipment and probably send it away to a lab. But the others, I mean, if you do a blood test and a urine test, it seems to me urine is actually better. I don't know why they don't use urine to determine, if you were drunk driving, for example, because we know that the blood tests don't last as long. So we just go back to that for a second, because most of our problems when it comes to this are to do with drunk driving, right?
Yeah.
Alcohol, 12 hours in the blood and 5 days in the urine. I
So I
suppose,
think
if you had a drink 5 days ago and then, you're now driving to work, they can't they can't then pull you over and say, "Oh, we've checked your urine and there's 5 days ago you had a drink," because then obviously that
yeah,
doesn't
no,
affect your driving.
you won't necessarily be intoxicated, but your body is still carrying the chemicals.
Right. Cocaine, aka nose beers. Yes, that's right. That's exactly what we
Jeez.
call it. All right. What else have we got here, Leigh-Ann? Let's look at this. This is interesting because we've often asked the question on the show: is where do tattoos hurt the most? Okay, least pain is the
Yes.
blue, most pain is the red, and then you got orange, which is closer to the red, and yellow, which is closer to the blue. So it
No,
looks like in this chart,
I like this because it's always so subjective, and
mm,
in my heyday, I got this tattoo on my wrist, and
yes,
it's always a case of, oh, this was really sore, or no, brew, you must know. Like when you get it on your back, it's the worst, or it's always so subjective. So this actually gives you a good idea of the factual
correct.
pain points
All right, so
and where it's
let's look at
sourced.
the most obviously go for the most painful. So according to this chart, the most painful areas, vagina,
Why did you
belly
assume
button
it was a
area,
vagina?
or the penis, like obviously your genitals, because you got like a lot of nerves there.
Yeah, your
Then there's
groin
this
area.
groin area. Thank you. Yeah, I'm such a child. Your shins and your feet are very sensitive. Most pain in your shins and your feet. Then just under your titties and up to your throat, and from your throat to your
Look,
face. Obviously, a face
the
tattoo is
nipples are
very sore.
included
And then
there.
nipples, and then just two little dots in the
The
elbow, in
opposite
the
side of
elbow
your
joint.
elbow. Yeah.
Correct. And then
But look
from
as
the
well,
back.
look at the wrists. They're tiny little bands around the wrists.
Oh,
Because I
okay.
had to have
Look at
like
you, you
a half a
brave.
bottle of I had to have like a half a bottle of tequila to get through mine. It was very painful.
Did you? Okay,
Yeah.
well,
Ooh.
if you turn around, the back end, there's nothing really on the head or the torso that they say is so super painful on the back, except, again, your elbows. Now we're talking about the back, probably where your funny bone is. And then inside the thighs, inside the back of the knees, and then the feet. Feet seem
And
to be
your
very
asshole.
sensitive across the board. And your asshole, very important, very sore if you tattoo your asshole. Very important to know this. And the places that are the least painful are the front of the thighs, um, the upper chest area, the forearms, the back,
The head, funnily
and
enough. Your whole head.
the head's
Your
not so bad. Yeah, it's not so bad by the
like
looks of this.
mouth and
So there we
nose are
go.
sore, but the rest is like okay.
This is good shit to know, don't you think?
Well, I mean, if you really want a tattoo, you're not going. The pain level's probably not going to stop you.
No,
But
no. If you want to do this, you got to do it
but
right.
now you
Um,
can say, listen, mine was the most painful because it was in my groin.
uh, This is a stupid joke from Red Robin, but because we're getting to Thanksgiving in the US, it's probably an appropriate joke. A woman in America had a roast turkey tattooed above her bikini line because her husband complained that there was nothing good to eat in the house between Christmas and Thanksgiving. Da-dum. Great. What a crap joke. But there we go, Red Robin. Very nice. I hope you feel better about yourself. So there we go, the tattoo chart. Now, this is something I've often thought about because I'm like, well, that person is no use at all. What could we get for their organs if we had to harvest their
On the
organs?
black
So,
market.
on the black market. So let's talk about this. Leigh-Ann Mole, give us the lowdown. When you go to, sort of derelict places in Rosettenville to go and buy your organs, how much are you paying for them?
Okay, now keep in
Go
mind
on.
that this chart is from 2017. So with
All
inflation,
right.
I'll give you an idea.
It's gone up.
Yeah, so for instance, I'm just adjusting my
What's that?
bifocals. Um,
Oh,
the liver, which in 2017 would have gone for 137,000 US dollars, with inflation now, that's sitting at around $300,000. But certainly that's
$300,000.
yes.
Really, $300,000. Now, is this in American prices, or do you think you can get it cheaper here? Because that is 5.4 million rand. Now, everyone has a liver, but some people are not worth 5.4 million rand, right?
No, exactly. And I think here, I mean, if you look at our muti practices, they're body parts that are going around for a lot cheaper, I'm sure. But for
Yes.
instance,
Is that the most expensive organ ever?
no, it's not. The most expensive.
What is it? We need to know.
Lungs.
People have got to know. Oh, really? The lungs. Okay.
Yeah.
Just take a big.
That's
Everyone
most
take a
expensive.
deep breath and realize how lucky you are to have your lungs. How much do you get for a set of lungs?
For a set of lungs in 2017, you would have got $272,000. They've also got listed here the corneas. Corneas go for about $20,000. Your skeleton, only about $6,400. Lungs, we've mentioned.
Well, yeah.
Kidney, $138,000. Liver, $137,000. Your blood is at $630 per pint. No, per pint. That writing's really small, Gareth. You're going to have to help me out.
I know. I thought you had the original with you.
Skin, interestingly enough, also sells, but like at a per centimeter or square inch. And your bones and ligaments, you can sell those for $4,800.
Okay, and no balls, penises, ovaries.
No, those are for free. Those are for free to anyone who wants them.
That's like a bonus. Like you could take take kidneys, but you get the balls as a bonus. Everybody wants a bit of that. That's how it works.
Now, I mean, bear in mind that you can the only ones that can really be harvested from you while you're alive over there are your kidneys, probably a bit of your skin, your blood. Right. But if the rest are taken, it's tickets.
Well, a lot of people are thinking now, suddenly they're doing the calculations in their head. They're like, well, I owe the bank 2 million rand. Maybe if I give 2 kidneys. Yeah. You know what people are doing. They're busy doing a calculation right now. They're thinking, my daughter seems healthy. I wonder what I could get for her organs. And maybe that's something I should think about. Who knew you were sitting on all this potential? Who knew you were sitting on all this money? Right.
And also, I mean, I've offered to give these things up for free. I'm an organ donor.
Yeah,
so
correct.
Yeah, some people are going to get these things for free.
I mean, don't you think that people should be able to almost have like timeshare on this stuff, so that if you decide that you don't want to live anymore, but you should get paid out in advance so that you can reap the benefit, and then you can have those organs and enjoy your life for a bit, but when you go, then someone else gets them. And as part of that, then you have to look after them. So you can't go and become an alcoholic and then your liver's no use anymore. That kind of thing. Don't you think?
Yeah, good idea. I like it.
At least now we know how much these things cost. So thanks, Leigh-Ann. It's always it's lovely to wake up on a Monday and think about harvesting organs. This is our favorite thing to do. Let's take a look at this chart. I can't even see what this is. What happens to your body after you die? Ooh.
Yeah, so this is a little bit of morbidness, but it does follow on from the organs. And obviously our bodies are treated in certain ways depending on the way you really want to go. But if you had to just, and this is my obsession with true crime stories, if you had to just go and be left in a forest somewhere, this chart shows you exactly what would happen over days, seconds, minutes, hours, days, weeks, and months. So everything from seconds is where your brain activity actually surges right before you die, and then it stops. Your body temperature is the next thing to go within seconds. Hey,
really?
And it's actually true. I mean, when I've had to unfortunately put down pets at the vet, they often let you have a moment with them, and you can feel them within seconds getting colder.
Oh,
And yeah, it goes all the way to what exactly happens, and to the point where you would just find skeletal remains. And the thing is, that only takes about 4 months. It's not like, when you dig up a
I thought it was
skeleton, you think, oh, this person must have been dead for years.
thousands of years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, no, just a couple of months.
Yeah.
Very morbid, but necessary to know these things.
Mm-hmm.
Macabre. All right. Tracy says, interesting that in either Sweden or Norway, it is the default that when you die, your organs are donated. You have to opt out of donating your organs.
Yeah, it should be like that.
I really miss my job as an undertaker this morning. Interesting topic, says Jean. Oh my God. All right. So if you were
Oh,
an undertaker, we have to talk to Jean then. Undertakers, that's a fascinating job. Something that I would never want to do, but I would want to know what happens, the scariness of like doing some of the stuff that undertakers have to do. And it's just the rest of us only have to see these things a few times in our lives. These guys do this every day.
but it's
Crazy,
amazing
right?
how much we don't know about it. There are a few
Yeah.
morticians that I follow on TikTok. And there's such interesting things, like if they have to do some kind of autopsy on any part of your body, like say that doesn't belong in your torso. So maybe your brain
Hmm.
or your feet, or I
Yeah.
don't know, whatever's come away from your body during the
Right.
autopsy, they put into your chest cavity. So they put all the bits
Oh,
into your chest
oh,
cavity.
right. That's nice. So that's nice of them to include all of that. That's like when when you pack after a holiday and you just throw everything into the bag and you like stand on it and try and close it and you pull the zip. And you're like, oh, I think I've got everything in. When you leave for a holiday, you put everything in the right place and everything's folded beautifully, and you have different things in different little bags within the big bags. And then when you come back, it's like you just throw all the shit. Just like, close, you
Zip it
son of a
up.
bitch.
Literally
Right.
zip up your chest with everything in it.
Beautiful. That's lovely. Well, there's quite a lot to think about there, huh, Leigh-Ann? Nice stuff. Very, very nice. Let's just talk a little bit about this. Apparently, there was a shipwrecked Australian who has told this remarkable story about how they were on this uninhabited island for a time. And
Yeah.
we've got these TV shows like Survivor, and you think, well, that's a TV show, and there's a camera crew there, and there's a couple of meters offshore. There's a boat that they can always hop on if they get really, really sick or any of that stuff. But imagine being on a tropical island and being marooned, essentially being, kind of left to the ups and downs of nature, and how scary that could be.
Absolutely.
Um, we often think, like, what would you take to a desert island? And people think, well, a deserted, uninhabited island could be quite fun. Robinson Crusoe. And when I was a kid, I loved Robinson Crusoe. I thought about that all the time. But it's no fun at all. It's actually a horrible shit thing to happen. And especially to modern human beings who become so used to electricity and warm water and medicine and, ready
Mhm.
food at the touch of a button, all that kind of thing.
Well, this is a woman from Australia, from Queensland, who she's telling the story now in a book, which is why it's kind of surfaced again in the news. But it happened to her about 30 years ago at the age of 20. Her and her boyfriend took a little fishing boat out into the waters just off the coast of North Queensland.
Yeah.
And this fishing boat, to her, and there are even photographs of her on the boat as a 20-year-old. And to her, it looked a little bit rickety, but I mean, when you're 20 and you're just having fun and you trust the person who's
Sure.
taking you, you go for it. But unfortunately, this boat started taking on water. A whole lot of things happened. Then the motor died, started sinking, and they were a 3-hour swim from any island. So
Jeez.
in shark-infested waters, the two of them managed to swim for 3 hours to a deserted
Oof.
island. I don't know how it's pronounced, it's Fantome or Fantome Island, a former leper
Okay.
colony. Just
Oh, wow.
south of, yeah, you don't want to run into anyone there.
No,
Thank goodness.
definitely not.
Thank good. Yeah. They lived off for a few days. It took them. They were living off rainwater and rock oysters.
Huh.
When the boyfriend didn't pitch up on the Monday at work, that's when a search crew was sent out because they knew that he'd taken a fishing boat.
Right.
And the search crew actually failed to spot them. They could see the search crew, but the search crew couldn't see them. Horrible.
That must be the most frustrating thing because you're so close to being rescued and then they don't see you. You're like, God damn it. I've watched a few movies like that and it's horrible to watch. You're like, no, come on, this is not right. This is awful. I don't like seeing that stuff. It's terrible.
No, it's
terrible.
horrible. Shame.
Very, very infuriating and frustrating.
They eventually some fishermen spotted them when they mustered up all of their strength to make some noise along the coast. And the fishermen actually had to haul their boat over the coral reef because they were so weak by then that they couldn't even walk. And obviously, what's it called? Not sunburn, but sunstroke. They were starving because of all the rain. They hadn't been able to light a fire at all. And now what's interesting is that she's written this book, and the whole time she was writing it, she was trying to track down this former boyfriend. But because he's got such a common name, she hasn't been able to find him. And so she's put out like this plea saying, okay, I've written the book, it's being published. She raised some money to have it published, but her boyfriend's name was Robert Brown. I mean, Bob Brown. Right. You know, he's going to be difficult to find. So if you know anyone called Robert Brown who was once abandoned on an island, let them know there's a book about them.
You would think that someone who's been like abandoned on a desert island with someone, they'd stay in touch. You'd be like, oh, well, you two better stay in touch because you've got a hell of a story that you share here. You'd be friends for life, through this thing. Because you don't get much closer to someone than that. I mean, once you've been on a desert island together, I don't know how much more you're expected to know someone.
She says she's been on an 8-year ghost trail searching for Mr. Brown. She lost contact with him shortly after the incident. She says, and this I thought was quite funny, we just drifted apart.
Oh my God.
Funny when you're on a sinking boat. And she said, it broke my heart. Writing this book has brought up lots of memories and lots that I can't remember either. And it would be nice to just confirm with him a few things.
All right. Well, what would you take on a desert island, Leigh-Ann? You can only take 3 things. What are you going to take? I mean, we've already got an answer here from, I think, Ruth. She says you need to have, what is it? A salt, a sharp blade, a lighter seal, and a waterproof bag. Those are her things. Why the salt? Because surely if you're on a desert island, you can get the salt out of seawater. But maybe rocks. That's just, or the rocks, I suppose. But I don't know. Maybe she's right. Maybe there's a reason to have salt. A sharp blade, absolutely, and a lighter. Except imagine how nervous you're going to get when your lighter starts running out. You realize you only have lighter fuel for another 3 days. Then you just make sure you keep your fire going no matter what, right? You just put everything on there.
It's impossible. But man can make fire, from flint and sticks.
No.
Yeah.
There's that horrendous story of all the people who hired a small yacht, jumped off the boat, and they forgot to put the ladder into the water. And there was a baby on board too. Oof.
Ooh.
Shit. Wow.
Jeez.
Carl says, imagine being so horny after all those oysters and also being starving and thirsty.
So horny and so thirsty.
Yes. No, Dad's reminded me, I interviewed that guy who fell off the boat off West Sumatra in Indonesia. He was alone for over 48 hours or more and was found. He was incredibly lucky to be found alive, alone in the ocean. Yeah, I remember speaking to that guy. I mean,
yes.
It was just pure luck that this other boat was in the area and they saw him. Because you don't see, a speck of a human being bobbing up and down in the ocean when you're on
all it is a head, really.
Right. And you don't expect to see that. So you're not looking for it. So it's very, very difficult to spot people like that in the ocean. Hey, listen, we've got to get to Dr. Hanan. We're fucking around here, and he's got things to talk to us about. Hey, Doc, how are you?
Hey guys, I'm well. How are you?
Nice to see you. We're wasting your time. We've got lots to talk to you about. Here is Hanan. It's going to be okay. Monday morning. He's the renowned psychologist, head of the Anxiety and Trauma Clinic in Johannesburg. Did you win your award?
No, I was there. I participated.
Oh,
Full stop.
Did you get to participate?
There were so many. There were so many nominees, though. It was almost impossible to win in each category. So many nominees.
Yeah, no, the winners were well deserved. It was just great to be there. It was awesome.
Well, I don't know. I don't know any of the other people who were nominated except you. So I'm going to say that I'm going to say they stole the vote. I'm going to do what Donald Trump did. A rigged election. If Hanan didn't win, we're not interested. We're not supporting them anymore. So there we go. That's all I have to say.
But thanks for all the support that everybody that voted. That was really great. It was awesome.
Okay. Did they only count votes, or did they also have a panel of people who decided? Because then they can rig it.
Yeah, they had a panel of judges that went through a whole thing. So it was a combination.
Right. Yeah. Well, there it is. All right. So, Doc,
there it is.
Got an email here from Gina. Gina says, I'm in a very difficult situation, and I know it's not unique. I caught my boyfriend cheating on me in the worst possible way. I walked in on him having sex with one of our friends. Oh my God. Poor Gina. She says, I know the logical thing to do is end the relationship, but he's begging me to forgive him and swears it was just that one time and the biggest mistake of his life. We also have a baby together, which really complicates matters. I don't want to be a single mom, and I don't want to resent my son's father for the rest of our lives. Can this be overcome? I don't know what to do, Dr. Hanan. I don't know what to do. Sorry, I can't make fun of this. What do I do, Dr. Hanan, to fix this? How can I forgive him? Or can I ever trust him again? The mental image of them together won't go away. Oof.
Oh, shame. Oof.
Oh, where do we start, Doc?
Yeah, it's a real violation. You know, I've said this many times. Relationships are really an agreement between two people on how to behave. They're rule sets. Some of them are explicit, some of them are implicit, but we get into a relationship based on particular specific principles. This is how I'm going to behave, and this is how you're going to behave. And when there's a break in the agreement, naturally hurt occurs, disappointment occurs, resentment occurs. And of course, there are levels to this stuff. I mean, saying I'll be home at 7 and arriving at 7:30 is a violation of the rules, and having an affair is on another level. And we always talk about why people do it, but we hardly talk about what are you meant to do once you find out your partner has cheated. And of course, we can be all bullish about it and very cowboyish about it and say, well, just end it. But the reality, guys, is that it's not so simple, especially when there are kids involved. To end the relationship of maybe 3 months, to untangle that, that's quite simple. But when you need to untangle years and years and years of a partnership that you hoped would turn out in a particular way, especially when there are kids involved and your lives are enmeshed, is not so simple. You literally have to erase an old life and create a new one. And sometimes it's completely worth it, for sure. And sometimes it is not worth it. So what I'd like to dispense is, when is it worth it and when is it not? So firstly, you have to understand that you've got to communicate. You've got to communicate. There are many reasons why people cheat, but their excuses are limited. So you can always find a reason for anything. I cheated because you don't give me enough love, or I cheated because I was drunk, or I cheated because this was a mistake, or I cheated because there's no affection between us, or I cheated because I'm incredibly stressed. There are many reasons for cheating, but the excuses are not there. I've never found, certainly in my 20 years, a real excuse for somebody cheating, a real valid excuse. It's not okay, and it's never okay. Mm-hmm. But if you do find your partner cheating, you've got to and the truth is, the moment you find your partner cheating, it's too late. You've got to communicate way beforehand, because there's always telltale signs that your partner is moving away from the relationship and towards something else. So you want to communicate as early as you can about, why is there distance? Why are we drifting apart? Why are you working late? Why are you checking your phone? Why are you putting a password on your phone? Why do you not trust me with X? Why do you not trust me with Y? So discuss it way, or at the first step or at the first time that you see there's something off in the stance. But let's just fast forward. Now you find your partner cheating. You got to bring it up. You have to bring it up. Because a lot of women and men, you will not believe it, just feel so uncomfortable raising it for the fear of the relationship ending. So
Really?
oh, you won't believe it, Gareth. You will not believe how many partners I see here that sit in my office and go, I know my partner's cheating, but I cannot say anything. I don't want to say anything. What if he breaks up with me? What if she leaves me? What if they take the kids? Especially when there's power and money involved. Because think about it, now you confront your partner who's maybe is financially incredibly secure while you're insecure. What are you going to do? Are you going to allow your kids to go with your partner? Now they have the legal power to actually disrupt your life and take away your kids. So there's incredible amount of fear, whether it's true or untrue, there's incredible amount of fear. So the first thing you have to do, everybody, if you find out your partner's cheating, you have to bring it up. You have to raise it, because if you don't confront it, if you don't put it on the table, it will never be resolved. Now, once you open up, your partner will do one of two things. They'll be honest or they'll be dishonest. If they're dishonest, just know that the partnership is naturally going to get progressively worse. And when I say dishonest, they might be lying about what they were doing, or they might gaslight you. So gaslighting is a form of dishonesty. For those of you who don't know what gaslighting is, making somebody doubt what they've witnessed. So for example, if you see your partner cheating and now you've confronted them and they say to you, no, it was you. You're just insecure. That's why I did it. Oh, you don't show me intimacy in the relationship. That's why I did it. You're never available. That's why I did it. That's a form of dishonesty and gaslighting. So if they're dishonest, just know that the projection and the trajectory of the relationship is going south. You cannot have a relationship with anybody, a friend, a colleague, a life partner, a boss, a government, that's not based on trust. You have to be honest. If there's dishonesty, naturally the game is gonna fail. So the analogy that I've used many times before, if you and I play chess and we know the rules of the game, and suddenly you start cheating, you start moving the pieces in a way that is not allowed, that we didn't agree on. Naturally, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna resent you and not wanna play it. But if I force myself to play it, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cheat as well. So that's what happens in a relationship. You cheat, I don't speak up, suddenly I'm gonna break the rules as well, suddenly you break the rules, and before you know it, it's a massive mess. So you gotta bring it up. Then if your partner's dishonest, just know that the trajectory is going south. If your partner's honest, ask yourself about what has happened. The reason why I did it is because we lack, it's not an excuse, but we lack X, Y, and Z in a relationship. How do we work on it? And is your partner prepared to work on it? Your partner, this is important, guys. If your partner is cheated, the onus is on them to do whatever it takes unconditionally to fix the mess up and to rebuild the trust. The onus is on them. There's no conditions anymore. They've lost their privileges. So for example, if you want to now go and check and have open access to their phone, you should be allowed to. If you want to have access to their email, you should be allowed to. Now you will go, whoa, 1 second, that's an invasion of privacy. Yes, but you've lost that right.
Yeah, you can't complain anymore. I like that.
Exactly.
Okay, good.
Exactly. Because yes, previously when you've played by the rules, you had privileges and rights. The moment you've broken the rules, your rights and privileges are gone. Done. So there's not like, no, she still can't check my phone, he still can't check my email, he still can't ask me to do X, Y, and Z. You have to be unconditional. If you want the relationship to work, you have to be unconditional and do whatever it takes to make it work. And then you go and seek ways in which to fix the actual problem. So if there's a breakdown in trust, how do we fix that? If there's breakdown in communication, how do we fix that? If there's breakdown in intimacy, how do we fix that? If there's breakdown in compromise, how do we fix that? You go and seek the help, whether you can do it yourself, or my suggestion, there's 2 more things. My suggestion is go and seek the professional help to help you recommunicate and renegotiate. Do not speak to your best friend that's been divorced 4 times and cheated on their husband 64 times to get advice. Because the number one problem that I see is people lean on other people that have no right to give them advice. So it's like leaning on your cardiologist to tell you what's wrong with your car, or leaning on your mechanic to tell you what's wrong with your heart. Don't lean on the wrong people to guide you. It doesn't make sense. Lean on someone that can give you the right advice and guide you in the right direction.
That's great. That's good news. Just quickly, is there is there an added layer of trauma when someone has actually walked in on their partner doing the deed? Because, in Gina's situation here, she walked in on her guy having sex with this friend of theirs. Now, does that add an extra layer to it? Because that must make it even more difficult for her to get over, right?
Definitely, because can you imagine the image in her mind? It's not even created out of a fantasy or a terrible nightmare. It's created out of the reality of seeing her partner with another woman. It's incredibly devastating, especially if it was in her own home. I mean, can you imagine what the home feels like now? So there is an added layer of trauma. Obviously, the more your senses are involved in the trauma, the more traumatic it is. So the more we involve sight and sound and touch and taste, the more the senses we use, the more traumatic and visceral the trauma is. And in this case, for sure, it's an incredible trauma.
Horrible. One quick thing Ricky says, what if an individual is not cheating and not being dishonest, but the partner's insecurities makes them suspect cheating the whole time or feeling insecure the moment that she sees other beautiful girls?
Yeah, that's a great question. Sure, that deserves a show on its own. So sometimes accusing your partner of being dishonest is not actually them doing anything. It's actually your insecurity. But you've got to negotiate the needs in the relationship. So for example, I will turn to my partner and say, listen, I don't want you. I feel insecure when you look at maybe when you're scrolling, watching other naked men or, I don't know, half naked men on Instagram or whatever. And my partner can negotiate back and say, I don't see there's anything wrong with that. Can we negotiate that? Or I do see something wrong with that. Yes, I will stop doing it. So you negotiate the needs in the relationship. And if you can't agree, there's naturally going to be a breakdown. So make sure you agree on particular and specific needs in the relationship.
Oh, hang on there. Leigh-Ann, anything you want to throw in quickly before we wrap it up?
Well, I'm that friend you don't go to for advice on cheating and divorce and men in general. I'm the one who's going to tell you that, just avoid them altogether. Wrong person.
Okay. Well, I mean, there's probably good, solid advice in that too. Don't be the friend who they're running to for bad advice, and don't be the one who searches for your friend for bad advice. I think that's really good, because we often think that these things have to be, handled in certain ways, but that's not an important factor. These people can really poison the well.
Definitely. And it's okay to say to your mate, listen, I actually don't know. I'm not sure. I can tell my feelings, but I don't know. Go and lean on somebody that will be able to guide you.
Right.
Yeah. And there's also risk of saying as a friend, I never liked him anyway. And I always hate the way he treated you. And then you work it out. Your friend works it out.
Right. Yeah, okay, lots of things to think about here. As always, very, very interesting, fascinating stuff. Doc, thank you so much. You must also watch Dr. Hanan on TikTok. He puts up a lot of really interesting videos there, some of which will be particularly relevant to people who are going through those situations. And he gives solid advice in little bite-sized chunks. It's worth having a look at what Dr. Hanan's doing on TikTok as well. All right, everybody. That's great.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you, Doc. Good to see you.
See you.
All right. Cheers. When we come back, we will have plenty more for you, including Markets Mondays. We've got so much to talk about when it comes to money today, and we've got to figure out where is the safe bet, where's crypto headed. For starters, I mean, we've all seen this FTX meltdown, so we're going to talk about that too. We will speak to the experts from markets.com this morning, find out what the best place is to put your money if you have any left. And we'll see what investments are actually turning out to be quite good and which ones have turned out to be absolute albatrosses. All of that and more on the way. Stick around.
Welcome to the Third Draft Podcast, the show where we interview. Wait, do I start with who we are?
Catch the show.
We chat all about
content creation,
the
business of content,
Yeah,
and
I think
how
you can
much
take
money.
this one.
And how much?
Then I'll be like, how much money?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm Cynthia.
And I'm Nash.
And we are the hosts of the podcast. So catch fresh episodes every Wednesday on cliffcentral.com and on podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. I like that.
Alrighty, it is Monday morning, cliffcentral.com. Let us know what you are up to today. We've got Leigh-Ann, Mol, and me to keep you company on this Monday. We've changed up the lineup a little bit. We can have different people on different days on cliffcentral.com, and you know the show's always evolving, so we're always finding new things to bring to you. And we've got some news headlines on the way. We've also got Markets Mondays still to come. Dr. Hanan making a lot of sense this morning when it comes to cheating. You know, something that a lot of people are thinking about, a lot of people are dealing with. It's it's not so rare these days. You know, you hear about people, why, how, when, what exactly goes down. Gina sent this email about like walking in on her boyfriend or husband cheating. I mean, it's just walking in flagrante delicto. That's what they used to call it in law. It's like it's got to hurt so much more when you actually see two people having sex.
Yeah, it does. But I think as well, it was a thought that sometimes you imagine things to be a whole lot different. But I don't know. That's just taking it a bit far. It's really in your face.
Yeah.
So sometimes you
actual stumping in front of you.
Yeah. Sometimes you know, you'll often find a person who's been cheated on saying, tell me how many times you slept with this person. What was it like? What was the setting? Because once you've had some clarification on that, you stop imagining the absolute worst. But I think she was just confronted with the absolute worst.
Oof. And then is it better to like make it seem less romantic or make it seem less sexual, or you know, do you play it down because you now don't want to create extra trauma for this person? There's so much dishonesty in all of this. It's crazy. All right. So a few things we need to get to this morning, including the headlines. Let's take a look at some of the big stories for this morning. We mentioned this at the start of the show, but Stage 5 power cuts have been scheduled from Monday to Wednesday. Stage 4 rolling blackouts will be implemented from 5 p.m. on Sunday. Eskom says Stage 4 will continue until 4 p.m. Monday. Stage 5 will then be implemented between 5 p.m. and midnight, Monday to Wednesday. Varying stages will be experienced during the day. The embattled power utility has blamed a large number of breakdowns and depleted emergency generation reserves for the continued rolling blackouts. Yeah, again, I'm going to ask what I asked at the beginning of the show. How is it that you can go from, oh no, we've suspended load shedding, to, oh, we're suddenly on Stage 5? There's obviously something going on here that's very suspicious and very, very dodgy. I don't think that Eskom are being completely honest with us. And I don't think a lot of people trust them. So it's not just me. Anything you want to add to that?
I think in the beginning, I used to think, you know, they were being dishonest, but I think that they were pushed to a point where they had to be so honest that we now get like in-depth updates. So I feel like the more in-depth it is, the less they're lying.
Well, I don't know. I don't trust them. I don't like giving them money. It just drives me up the wall that some really useless group of people like this. And don't tell me that, you know, there are people trying to sort it out, because they would have done something by now. All of this sounds to me to be like immediate problems, not problems that have developed over 15 years. These are all like sabotage or whatever. So I don't know who to believe. I really don't.
Well, there's now a loan that runs into the billions. So let's see what's done with it, where the money goes.
I don't know if you heard this story from News 24 about Amapiano producer DJ Somebody, who was allegedly killed in a hail of bullets. I saw a couple of tributes to DJ Somebody on social media over the weekend. But apparently, he's passed away. The hitmaker, given the name John Sefoka, died in a hail of bullets in the early hours of Sunday morning in Joburg. His family confirmed the news of his passing. I mean, in a hail of bullets. They said details could not be disclosed as they were part of an investigation which was underway. He broke into the industry with his hit track Monati, featuring musician Casper Nyovest. He was on his way from a performance in Woodmead in Johannesburg. He was due to perform at the all-white Veuve Clicquot picnic on Sunday. In a statement, his family said they've requested privacy during this difficult time. Messages of support continued to pour in on social media. Deleuze wrote, "Always keep it 100. Rest in peace, somebody." Mam Shengu wrote, "I still can't believe that DJ Somebody's passed away. This one was so humble. You wouldn't believe he was a multi-millionaire." These kinds of things, when they happen, make me think, sometimes being successful has unforeseen consequences too, because then suddenly you've got a target on your back in certain places and with certain people, right? You got money. I didn't know. I'll be honest with you. I didn't know who DJ Somebody was. That's him. Put up a picture of him now. I didn't know who he was. I don't know. I might have met him once or twice. I have no recollection whatsoever. I'm not a big piano guy, so I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. But clearly, made a lot of money. And then, when you make a lot of money in certain places with a certain group of people, they're like, that guy's too big for his boots, or they just get jealous and they want a piece of the action. But to die in a hail of bullets, that's definitely an assassination. Wouldn't have been by mistake. Crazy. Yeah. What do you think? Just totally insane.
Yeah. Stuff stuff you find in movies.
Yeah. Then a big story from CNN Business, which really dominated the headlines over the weekend. Elon Musk has restored Donald Trump's Twitter account. So the account which Twitter banned following January 6th, 2021, and the attack on the Capitol was restored after Twitter CEO and new owner Elon Musk posted a poll on Friday night asking the platform's users if Trump should be reinstated. The people have spoken. Trump will be reinstated, he said. Vox populi, vox Dei. Latin for the voice of the people is the voice of God.
I think it was only about 56%, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was 51.8%.
51.
48.2% opposed. So really nail biting, like all the American elections, right? Everything in America seems to be on a knife edge. Like people can't even agree on basic stuff. Like, should this guy have a Twitter account? The poll included 15 million votes. 15 million votes. That's got to be a record for any Twitter poll, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. But the thing is that Trump's turned around and said, no thanks to the offer.
Yeah. You want to hear what he said? Listen to this.
Yeah.
Here's Trump. Okay. Because we haven't heard from him for a while. So in your own words, sorry, there's an ad. I have to get rid of an ad first because, you can't go to any site anymore with some bullshit ad playing before you can actually get to the content.
It's a story of our lives.
And it's all to go and visit Korea, which is not interesting.
Last night about whether or not he would even be interested in coming back to Twitter.
Truth Social is through the roof. It's doing phenomenally well. Truth Social has been very, very powerful, very, very strong. And I'll be staying there, but I hear we're getting a big vote to also go back on Twitter. I don't.
What do you think of that?
It was muted a bit of the way through.
Sorry. Let me just kill this. There we go. Sorry, I had you down. Go on.
It was muted a little bit halfway through, but I don't believe a word he says. I've never been on Truth Social and I haven't looked at the stats, but would you believe that it's through the roof? It's doing amazingly. Just hearing his voice again makes me angry.
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know. I just think this whole thing it's become so bad now that you can't have a regular conversation about Trump anymore with anyone, whether they're a big fan or they're a big enemy of his. It's just become impossible to have reasonable, rational conversations with people about this stuff. Matthew says Trump is awesome. Tracy says, shame he finally won something. I don't enjoy Trump, to be honest, but I enjoy the public freakout. Well, okay, this is the big story, in my opinion, is that so many people have just lost their minds about the fact that he's coming back to Twitter. There are a bunch of people who are just screaming in the streets, pounding their fists, having temper tantrums, falling on the ground. How can you be so afraid, or how can you be so upset by one guy having the ability to express himself? That's properly wild, right?
To express himself, that's fine. But to run for president again is an issue.
Well, you can't stop someone from running for president either. It's madness.
Oh, I'm glad I don't have to.
So he's apparently come out, Trump now, and said he had no interest in returning to Twitter, even as a slim majority voted in favor of reinstating him. He was banned from social media for inciting violence in a poll organized by new owner Elon Musk. He won with 51.8%, being reinstated. His Twitter account, which had over 88 million followers before he was banned, began accumulating followers, had nearly 100,000 new ones by 10 p.m. on Saturday. Some users initially reported being unable to follow him. Trump had appeared less than keen earlier in the day. He said, "I don't see any reason for it," because he prefers his, Truth Social, which again, I've never downloaded that either.
No, apparently it's only available in the US. We've got someone commenting on that. But also it made me think, if anyone was to make a social platform popular, it would be someone who's like Trump and has a huge Twitter following. And so it's probably all of his type of people who've gone over and are following him there. So obviously he sees it as a success because he's being supported in everything that he says.
Well, that's what we've got on Trump and Elon. But I mean, there are lots of people who've suddenly been restored on Twitter, and good. The antidote to horrible speech is more speech, not less. Nobody wins if you ban people. And I don't see this as a, both sides argument. The one side actually just doesn't want the other side to have a say at all. And that's no way to proceed in a society, in a civilization. Unisex toilets at school will help prevent the bullying of gender diverse pupils, says the education department. Now, what do we think of this? This is hugely controversial. The abuse of gender diverse pupils motivated the proposal for unisex toilets at school, says the Department of Basic Education. Spokesperson Elijah Mhlanga told News 24 incidents of abuse and bullying of gender diverse pupils made it clear that the constitution of the department's policies were insufficient to prevent the violation of their rights. So first of all, how many gender diverse students do we have in South Africa? Because if this was America, it would be a vanishingly small number. It would be, a percentage of a percentage point. And yet we are overhauling all kinds of practices in order to accommodate these people. Are they not also worried that this is going to make a bunch of non-gender diverse people behave badly in unisex toilets? I mean, kids, we know what kids are like, right? We know why that there's a good reason why boys and girls have separate locker rooms. We know that.
Yeah.
We know there's a good reason why girls' bathrooms are one of the few safe places that girls can go to at school or at varsity or wherever else. If we take that away in the name of a handful, because it is only a handful of gender diverse pupils, aren't we putting all those girls at risk?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I remember chatting to my cousin who is a surgeon, a pediatric surgeon, who deals a lot with children who are born with either both genitalia or none at all, or what some part of it is, hidden, and has to do these reassignment surgeries. And it is actually more common than you would think. It's particularly in Africa that this occurs. So I think there's definitely a need for them. And I don't think we should jump to the conclusion that all of these cases are done through choice. There are a lot of kids who are born with both genes.
It's a tiny number, Leigh-Ann, even though we have more than You know, you say it's not as rare as people think. It's still rare. It's very rare. Most kids are pretty much at birth, you can tell what they are. There are a couple of cases, but let's not use the fringe cases to make policy. I mean, that's like saying, well, we've got to develop a new way of doing exams because there might be a few people who are born with 6 fingers. You know, and there are people born with 6 fingers. It doesn't mean we've got to change the way human beings write. You understand?
Mm.
So I'm sympathetic to those people, but why don't we just create different rules, as in there's one bathroom in the school that is just for the gender diverse people, because every school is going to have a couple of bathrooms. There can be one that is just for people who are, inverted commas, gender diverse, whatever the hell that means. And then for the rest of them, why mess up a policy that is actually keeping girls and boys safe from each other rather than what could happen if you just put them all in unisex bathrooms? Is this really the solution that we need? I wonder how many girls would go with that. Young girls feel safe.
As a teacher, if some kid approached me and said, I have this issue and I'm being bullied every time I go to the toilet, I'm sorry, then I would help them.
Yeah, but you let them use like the staff bathroom or
the
something.
Staff toilets or something like that. But that's, you know, that's still pointing, it's still like highlighting the fact that they're using the staff bathroom, but it kind of points a finger again. Ugh, I don't know. I'm just glad I don't have to make these decisions.
I'm with Carl here. He says, I have a 6-year-old daughter. I don't want her in the same bathroom as a bunch of penises. This is fucking ridiculous. Shoot all the woke people. Okay, again, violence, guys. Let's not choose violence first thing in the morning. Some boys should not be allowed in the same room as girls wanting some privacy in the bathroom or toilet. If they become unisex, can't these boys then cause shit? Well, that's the problem, right? You can only be responsible. Like, let's say you're a parent. You can only partially be responsible for your own child. And if you've got a little girl and you entrust her to the care of the school for those 4, 5, 6 hours a day, and she goes to the bathroom thinking like she'll be left alone when she pees, but there's a bunch of guys in the bathroom too, I don't know that that's a good idea. I remember what we were like at school. I remember what guys are like generally. The girls' bathroom was the one sacred place where a girl could go and cry or do all the usual things.
Do all the girl stuff, Gareth, like crying and changing tampons.
No, I'm not being horrible here. I think like
no, I know what you mean, but they'll still have their bathroom, you know.
Well, they won't. It'll be unisex according to this. This is the solution.
No, I don't think so. I think it's to have the addition of a unisex bathroom. Well, no, I don't think it's just unisex bathrooms. Definitely not. Wouldn't be.
Well, you never know with our Department of Basic Education. Are you kidding?
No. Well, I mean, some schools don't even have toilets. They'd be lucky to have one, and that one will be unisex by default.
I just don't know why we have to always take these fringe situations and cases and build policy based on them. I mean, really, people are talking in this article. They talk about the sexual diversity related to identity, some of which were represented in the spectrum, while gender diversity is how people identify outside of he or she. The analogy of transgender people is used to explain this. Trans people tell those around them what they identify as. It's not about what you see, but what the person identifies as. You may see a male or a female, but the person may tell you that they are the opposite gender. Adding that the corrective surgery does not validate one's identity as a trans person the others resort to. You see, again, if the only thing that determines your gender is how you're feeling at a specific time, if that is the way that we determine what gender you are, then the only person who can ever know what gender you are at a given time is you. And then it becomes everyone else's responsibility to have to ask, what gender are you today, Sam? And then Sam goes, I feel like a boy today. Or Sam goes, I feel like a girl today. And you have to play along with this person's mental illness. I just don't see it as a sensible course of action. I really don't. There has to be an objective way. Otherwise, words mean nothing. Otherwise, what is a woman? What is a man? What's the point? If you can just make it up in your head, today I feel like a woman today. I could do that as a guy. And then I'm really just making fun of what the whole term woman is.
It's not a day-to-day thing, though.
Oh, with some people it is.
Yeah, with gender fluid people, perhaps. And the only way that would be determined is by the way what they were wearing for the day, if they decided to wear a dress for that day or.
But why should everyone in society have to conform to whatever you decide? And even if you decide that you're a girl but you're actually a boy, there's no objective way that this makes sense. Words have to mean something. Otherwise, what's the point of having them? If you are a man who identifies as a woman and you decide on a day, today I'm a woman. From now on, let's say you've decided it permanently. Now I'm going to be a girl from here on in, right? What does it mean to be a girl then? What is that? Do you see what I mean? If that's what you are, fine it for me. Don't say, well, because this is the only argument you ever get from the transgender communities. You say to them, well, so what is a woman? And they go, well, it's when I choose to identify as that. And you're like, yeah, but what is that? You still have to have a definition of woman. Otherwise, what are you changing?
Yeah.
What are you transing into if you don't even know what a woman is? There have to be certain things like a woman has these characteristics.
I know you're right with that. I believe, like if I want to identify as a he,
what is he?
I need to be able to define what a he is.
Correct. This is too much for some of these people because actually, according to this person from the Department of Basic Education, here's the definition. I'm going to read it again because this really irritates me and it matters, and clearly it's becoming an issue in society. And there's policy being made here. Trans people tell those around them what they identify as. So you could have no standards or you could have lots of standards for determining what you are. And it's totally up to you. And everyone else just has to go along with that. You see, this robs society of definition, and it robs words of meaning, and it robs people of identity, because someone like me doesn't think very much about being a man. It's not a preoccupation of mine on a daily basis. But there are people who think about this stuff all the time. Whether you're on this side of the spectrum, on that side of the spectrum, you need to know what you're defining. I want a hot bath. Oh, no. I define hot as cold. What? And you pour the person a cold bath, and they're like, no, I asked for a hot bath. You're like, you've got to decide. Otherwise, how are you going to get what you want in life? How are you going to do anything? Right? So let's see what happens. But I wouldn't put it past the Department of Basic Education to fuck this up like they have everything else. Here's some good news.
I truly believe that it'll be an addition. And I know that because just 2 weekends ago, I was speaking with school kids who have unisex bathroom, but it's in addition to the male and female.
Yeah, but Leigh-Ann, who's paying for that? So now we must put aside an extra budget for every school to have an extra bathroom for unisex people when there are only 3 of these people per 1,000 in society. If that, I think it's probably like 3 per million.
No, it's probably taking an existing bathroom and just converting it, changing the sign on the door.
Are we doing that on the door? We're doing that for 3 people in the whole school?
Changing a sign on a door, yes.
For 3 people in the whole school?
Yes, because those 3 people are going through hell every time they go to the toilet.
Well, maybe they're not. Maybe they're just saying that because it gets them attention. Maybe they're not. Who are these Gareth? Who are these people who are beaten? No, seriously. Show me the case. Why? If this was a story, it would be in the news. It would be all over the place.
Let's look at Caster Semenya.
Yeah. What about Caster Semenya?
Well, Caster Semenya has, I don't know the scientific term for it, but she has both male and female genetics.
Yeah. It's rare and very odd.
So let those 3 people have their freaking toilet.
Okay. Well, you seem very happy to decide what to do with other people's money. I'm not so sure about that. And I also think, there used to be 1 of these people per 10 million. Now it's become a social contagion. It's a way for people to make themselves important and interesting at school. I do believe that a lot of this is just made up on the spot.
Could be, but it's a hell of an act to follow for the rest of their lives.
As far as we know, Caster Semenya never had this issue at school, and she's what they call intersex, right? And she's also a multi-millionaire, so I'm not so sure that she needs our sympathy and support this morning, or a transgender bathroom to make her feel a bit better. I'm sure she's fine. Anyway, I know you're going to argue with me about this, and that's the whole point. This argument's going on in society with everybody. So your opinion counts, my opinion counts. Let's see if we get any closer to the truth. I just think that policy needs to decide. Policy is all about kind of trying to make something work for the most people most of the time. That's what it is. The rest of it is pure conjecture. It doesn't matter as much. It's just people talking. Here's another story in the news that we need to look at. There are now 8 billion people in the world. And here's what that means for the future, says Business Tech. Do you want to hear what they say? Slowing population growth. Much of the world's population growth has come in the last century as better living standards and health advancements have extended life expectancy. Total number of people on Earth grew from just 2 billion in 1927 to 6 billion by 1998. Now we're at 8 billion.
Oh, my word.
Mm-hmm. There are signs that the surge is slowing. Annual population growth is at its slowest level since 1950. So this is already happening. And you know this because you could see people having less kids in most parts of the world, right? There are fewer babies in rich countries. The slowdown is in large part driven by wealthy countries with a costly burden of raising a child, and failing marriage rates have meant that countries from South Korea to France are facing population declines as not enough babies are born to replace the elderly. This is going to be a big problem for some of those countries going forward, because how do you pay for all the old people if there aren't enough young people working? In poorer nations, there's a baby boom. The UN forecasts that much of the world's future population growth will be concentrated in low-income countries, with just 8 accounting for the majority of the increase. Those would be Nigeria, Ethiopia, Pakistan, India, and the Philippines, where we're going to see massive growth. And people also have to, because there's so much negative stuff associated with population dynamics. But here's an interesting one. There have been apocalyptic scenarios painted in the past about a global population spike, including those popularized by the population bomb, which was written by Stanford professor Paul Ehrlich in 1968, which warned of mass starvation. That has not come to pass. We've actually got more food available to more people than ever before, despite the human population reaching 8 billion. So that's good news, right? We should be happy about that. So there are lots of things that aren't as they seem when you talk about population growth. How do you feel about 8 billion people on planet Earth, Leigh-Ann?
Feels very claustrophobic. I'm trying to, I'm a little distracted because I'm trying to remember the name of something I watched on YouTube regarding the future of the country. Of the world. And it's been put together by a bunch of scientists. And I see Juan commented, we don't have 100 years left here of life as we know it. And
bullshit, John.
Interestingly enough, it's only in trillions of years that the Earth is predicted to die out. And that'll be because the sun dies out first before Earth dies out.
I have to bring this up because it came up in a conversation I had over the weekend. You've got all these people running around talking about how we're destroying the Earth and we Earth is going to die, and save the environment and save the planet and all this stuff. And that is true. We are doing a huge amount of damage. But the reason people are saying save the planet is not because the planet is in any danger. Human beings are in danger. If we carry on polluting, we'll make it impossible for us to live on the planet, right? That's the truth. The planet will be fine long after humans have been wiped out by whatever happens. There's going to be something that takes us out, right? Then there'll be a new species that'll be in charge. Just like before us, there were the dinosaurs. Before that, there were probably some other forms of life, single-cell organisms, things that lived under the water. There's always been an apex species, and it hasn't always been humans. Earth is fine. Earth is constantly renewing itself. There are volcanoes and earthquakes and massive global catastrophes, and Earth continues. It's only humans who have to worry about this stuff. So when people say, oh no, I'm a good person because I care about the planet, I'm like, no, you don't. You only care about the planet because of humans on the planet. So in other words, you care about you. It's not a altruistic I care about the planet thing. It's I'm worried about my future because I've been reading apocalyptic articles and watching movies about asteroids. I don't buy it. I just don't. And if we don't let nature eventually kill us, which is part of the whole cycle, eventually we will pass away. All human beings will disappear. But if it isn't nature, we'll do it to ourselves, right? We'll blow ourselves sky high with nuclear weapons and that kind of thing. The planet will be fine. It'll take it a couple of 100 years to recover in some parts of it. But I mean, there've been, Nagasaki and Hiroshima had nuclear bombs dropped on them. There are people living in those cities now. There are places in the Pacific where they've tested hydrogen bombs, where the animals are just doing fine. They might not have the lifespan that they had before.
That's what you're going to say, the limbs.
might have cancers at a very early stage, but then new species will come and inhabit those places, and eventually the radiation will peter out, as it always does, and everything will be fine. The planet is going to be just fine. It doesn't need you separating your rubbish just because you make yourself feel better to sort its problems out. The planet will be fine, right? So let's not worry about that. And I also think if population goes up, what are you going to do about it? You can go around sterilizing people? Who gets to choose?
Yeah.
Who gets to choose?
Culture has a lot to do with it as well. And that can often dictate whether a person's likely to have any children at all or a certain number.
Imagine if in South Africa you had to get a license to have children, which a lot of people talk about. Oh, you need a license for a gun. You need a license to drive a car. You should have a license for children. I mean, I've even said this. But who's going to determine who gets those licenses? Which human are you going to put in charge of deciding whether you should be able to have it or not? Is it going to be a politician? God, no. We know how well they've managed everything else, right? So
they're already telling women what to do with their bodies in the United States, in Iran.
Well,
many parts.
Even in small societies, you've got people who are deciding for other people what should and shouldn't happen. And there's no one who I would let have control over my reproductive future. I don't see why anyone should. So it's fine and good and well to say we must sterilize people, but who? And who decides?
Yeah. And you can turn the argument around and say, imagine we were all forced to have at least one child.
Right. It's the same as being told that you can't have any children and the government just coming around and sterilizing you without your permission. It's bullshit. No one should have that power to decide except you. So Luando agrees with me. The planet will be fine. It will. The planet doesn't need us to decide its future. It's going to happen anyway. If we needed a license to breed, we would have a massively shrinking population. Yeah, that's true. But again, Robin, I have to ask the question, who gets to decide? Who? Imagine if it was Home Affairs, as Pumlani says.
Oh, my word.
Go Home Affairs and stand in a queue, and then someone who has no idea of whether the sun rises in the east or west and has, they've been sitting there just kind of on their phone for the last 6 hours, hoping that the queue would die down. And then they get to you and you're like, hi, I'd like to apply for my license to have a kid, please. And they look at you and go, no, stamp their form and send you on your way.
In the news this week in Limpopo, and I battle to remember the numbers, I think there are about 14 people who've been fired because they're in the emergency medical services because they don't have the right credentials. And there are another 40 something that are being investigated for the same thing. Can you imagine all the false licenses going around to have children?
Yeah. I mean, it's insane. And as you say, the alternative, imagine if there was a bureau that decided you had to have a kid. At least everyone had to have at least one child. There was no excuse unless you were medically incapable of having a child, in which case you should adopt. And everyone was forced to have a kid, whether they wanted to or not. That would piss a lot of people off even more than some of the people who would be pissed off that they couldn't have a child. You look at the lengths some people go to when they find out that they're infertile or whatever, and they spend enormous amounts of money trying to have kids, whether it's in vitro fertilization or any of that stuff. You see how desperate these people are to have children and what they won't do to have kids. And you think, shame, to then leave that in the hands of a government official would just be the most terrible idea.
Oh my word. Any government in any country.
Right. There isn't a single person in politics that I would consider worthy of doing something like that for us. Okay, it is time for Markets Mondays. And we're going to cross to Dylan Bester in just a moment or two. Now, whether you're a new trader who's looking for a safe place to start, or you're an experienced trader who's looking for low spreads, multi-assets, and high tech, you will find that markets.com suits you perfectly. A special offer to everybody who's listening this morning. If you follow the link on cliffcentral.com and you register with markets.com, it'll all be on our website. Just go to cliffcentral.com and follow the link from there. Just by doing that, you will get a 30% bonus on your deposit, which is very good. Where else are you getting free money? Script, it'll all pop up as like a hyperscript thing. It'll all come up as a thing that you need to click on, and you go through there, and it'll just do all the population for you, so you don't have to send an email like we used to say before, right, Leigh-Ann?
Much better.
Easy. So the crypto market has experienced some swings over the last period, and the bubble is about to burst, according to some people. Others say this is a fundamental crash. Still others are hugely positive about what's going on in crypto, believe it or not. So to help us understand that and a whole lot more is Dylan Bester. He joins us to give us some insight. He's a co-founder and a director at Sky Castle International Investments. He's also a business partner of markets.com, and he always enjoyed the fast-paced environment of global financial markets, and he specializes in trading across multiple assets and multiple asset classes. So Dylan, it's good to see you. How are you?
Very good in yourself. Hi.
Awesome. Nice to see you, man. So Dylan, I mean, I gave a very brief intro there about what's going on in crypto, for example. People are so nervous right now. We had this FTX thing which happened, and which is dominating the headlines. So maybe we should start there. In the crypto space, what actually happened at FTX? And maybe you can explain it better than I would be able to.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm just going to give a very broad outline and sort of explain my rationale as to what's happened. There's still quite a bit that's unfolding, and I think there's going to be a bit more to come. But in a nutshell, FTX was effectively a cryptocurrency exchange. It was listed in the Bahamas as a cryptocurrency exchange. And there's a gentleman behind all of it by the name of Sam Bankman-Fried. He set up an actual quantitative trading business a year before this FTX launched, which is only launched in 2019, so all very recent, all COVID orientated. And this hedge fund, this quantitative trading strategy fund that he launched was called Alameda Research. And this research firm focused on risk-free trading, risk arbitrage. And effectively what that means is the likes of a currency or cryptocurrency exchange offers willing buyers and willing sellers the opportunity to exchange their cryptocurrency via a platform or a medium. And risk arbitrage takes advantage of that. So it allows for you to buy on one platform, sell on another platform, and make the difference. Obviously, this is quite a sophisticated strategy, and it takes a lot of sort of tech to do this. I'm giving you this bit of background because that started in 2018. And then 1 year later, in 2019, they launched FTX. The same gentleman, Sam Bankman-Fried. And effectively what happened then is for a risk arbitrage strategy to work well, you need multiple venues or multiple platforms to use. And you can always play them off against each other. Now, with him launching his own platform, he obviously decided that he would only use that one platform, which would make his strategy sort of unusable in that instance. Which most likely led him to take directional risk and take more one-sided bets for cryptocurrency itself. And as this continued, I mean, the winter of 2021 was when effectively they started getting very long and directional in terms of Bitcoin. This was the actual hedge fund using the exchange, the one exchange FTX, to buy and sell, basically just buying. And they used this on a leveraged basis. When they say leveraged, I mean, effectively, leverage as a concept is if I have $100 and I place it on Bitcoin, I'm allowed a form of leverage on that $100. It's like a debt to asset that I'm going to acquire. So I've put down $100, and in Bitcoin, I'm now able to have a position worth $1,800, which creates a lot of leverage. It's 18 times. And this is called gearing your money effectively. So during this time, I mean, crypto Bitcoin itself, I'm going to reference Bitcoin because it's an easy price mark. There's a lot of crypto coins out there as well, but it was around $16,700. And over this time, 6 months into March, the cryptocurrency went from $16,700 to around $60,000. Now, if you had used gearing and leverage, you effectively would have made loads of money. It would have gone all the way from 16,000 to 60,000 in the space of 6 months, and you would have been on top of the world. But on the alternative side of this, you've got that $100 would have become worth a lot more. But if that market collapsed, and we saw crypto come, as of the last, let's call it 4 weeks, when everything went sort of pear-shaped here, we saw crypto come down to around $16,800, $18,000. That means that there's been, I would effectively say that it's gone from 67,000 odd to 16,000, which is just a loss of value of around 75%. So crypto has lost 75% of its value effectively as of last 4 weeks ago. That would have caused that $1,800 to be at a loss of, you would have lost $1,350. And now remember, you've only put down $100. So you effectively owe somebody $1,250 because of that leverage you've used. And that's effectively the scenario that's occurred here. They've taken one-sided bets, and on the Bitcoin price losing a lot of value, it's allowed. They now need to top up their accounts. They now need to make sure that they can fund their position. And this was one of the factors that created this. They also issued their own. FTX had an FTT token that allowed them to on-loan on their exchange more crypto. And that loaning of crypto then allowed guys to trade more and create more leverage. So there's a big leveraged bubble. And effectively, it has burst. 75% loss of value is certainly a bursting of a bubble in any sense of the word. So this only came to realization this last few weeks because the crypto price was effectively at or below the prices where they purchased it originally. And they got basically margin called is the term. And this means that they now have to fund their position. That the losses would have been a market-to-market loss as well as a margin loss.
Okay, so just two quick things. First of all, I mean, leverage and gearing is something that has been used in all markets, not just in crypto. You can do this with gold. You could do it with shares and stocks. You could do it with futures, hedge trading, and all that kind of thing. So it's not unusual that this would happen. Of course, you just have to be prepared that if it doesn't go your way, you're going to owe more than you put in the first place. Is that right?
That is correct. Not in every sense of the word. When you do need to have sort of risk management tools, or at least a stop loss, or something that protects your capital, or at least once it goes up to a certain extent, you're reducing some capital that you have or some profits, and you're keeping a decent sort of balance sheet on your side. And this, I mean, if you look at the actual FTX board members, well, you have the CEO, Caroline Ellison. That, I mean, in the interview, she was saying that she basically uses elementary math and risk management tools like stop losses aren't an effective form of risk management, which obviously shows the lack of sort of oversight or the lack of ability to protect their clients at the end anyway. I mean, each of these exchanges will have their own set of rules, and they'll allow different amounts of leverage and gearing depending on their client base, and also depending on how much risk they want their clients to have. So in cryptocurrency, I mean, across the board, and depending on who you're trading via, will have their own set of rules and regulations that they act on. And it's a very new industry, which is why I think there's a lot still to learn here.
All right, so let's just talk about crypto generally, because this has obviously affected the crypto markets very badly. So what does this mean to people who are still holding Bitcoin, people who are on other exchanges, people who've got Ethereum, people who have some of the other altcoins? What does that mean to them?
Look, I mean, I think it's a massive shock to confidence here. We've had an idea where you've got a cryptocurrency, and do I think the technology is valid and there's a space in the economy? Most certainly, yes. When it will come to be more widely used or used for a better purpose than speculating and trading, I think, yes, there certainly will be a value. As a case in point, I'd like to compare it to sort of like your 2001 .com crash, where you had all these new tech businesses that started up, and there was also lots of money going around. So in the environment we were in over the last 2 years in COVID, you had the likes of stimulus in the market. You had people getting free checks in America for every month, sitting at home. So they took up sort of daytime jobs and became traders, which allowed them to obviously go into all these altcoins and create new altcoins. And so in my view there, it's a new industry that's up and coming. And all that dot-com bubble needed was a bit of regulation and a bit of, effectively at the end of the day, you want to protect your clients and you want to protect your customers to make sure that they're always going to be around. You don't want it blowing up like what we've seen here. So in terms of crypto as a whole, I do think there's a place for it. I think some people take it less seriously than others, launching their own altcoins and that. But as a whole, there's definitely a space for it, and it just needs a bit more regulation, a bit more oversight to bring that confidence back. To know that a company like FTX or Alameda Research can't just dip into their client deposits that aren't supposed to be trading or being a managed solution and take it for their hedge fund where they have a discretionary mandate. So it would be interesting to see what type of mandates they would have entered into their clients with, and what protection their clients had, what guarantees they gave their client, if any. And that's still to unfold, which is why I don't think this is the end of it, but it has caused a lot of concern around the Bitcoin price, what Bitcoin's worth. And it's generally now at this time where you've got a lot of people that need to have confidence against in the industry, and they need to then start getting that through regulation, certainly, and mass adoption.
Okay, I want to quickly move on to some other things because there's a lot that I want to tap into while we've got you. What do you see happening to the Rand? Because we've seen it strengthen over the last few weeks. Where do you think the Rand is going to go looking forward from here? And which currencies are you most nervous about?
First of all, I'm nervous for the dollar, just because the dollar is generally strong now. They've got basically rising interest rates in the US. The rest of the world's trying to copy them. So everyone is effectively looking to position their money out of sort of, let's call it the equity market, and move into more of a dollar position. So the dollars are basically being held quite closely and invested in the US, which is our main competitor to our Rand at the moment, because everyone there's a massive demand for dollars. And in South Africa, I definitely see a stronger Rand on the horizon. We've got a very good trade balance, a very good trade surplus at the moment. We've just been upgraded on Friday from S&P Global to actually a positive outlook, so there's quite a few positive factors for South Africa. We'll continue to raise interest rates to follow the Federal Reserve. We're only getting to sort of pre-COVID interest rates now, and our next meeting for the MPC will probably get there. And this will keep the Rand competitive. Our local bond market and our high yield bond market is one of the most attractive in the world at the moment. And there's massive opportunities in our bonds, which generally will attract investors into our Rand currency.
All right, that's interesting, because I remember whenever we would talk about the ratings, the various kind of what grade rating we were, it used to be a huge story. Now when we go up, it doesn't seem to make the headlines, but whenever we came down, it was like the biggest news story ever. What's changed there?
Yeah, definitely. I think we've also got, what's changed is it's been, we haven't had a positive outlook for quite a while. It's been downgraded. I wouldn't say much has changed from a political standpoint, but from a trade balance and a surplus point of view, our tax revenue collection is at its highest we've ever seen. Our exports are at its highest we've ever seen. So we're starting to actually make money. And in that scenario, we don't have much debt to GDP. So South Africa as a country hasn't extended our balance sheet to a point where we have to fund a surplus like what's happened in the US, or fund a balance sheet like what's happening in the US and pretty much the rest of Europe. So we're in a very positive position. We're an emerging market. There's a lot of growth potential in South Africa. So it is actually quite a positive outlook in terms of the general country as a whole. Yes, there are little pockets of instability, but as a whole, it's looking pretty good. It's good to see that we're generating revenue. And we've also now started with our own sort of form of stimulus in the country, which is our grant package, where we're starting to allow the low-income earners to get more. And that effectively is going to be a result of economic activity, because that's going to be spent once again. So it's going to create a bit of it's like a snowball effect. And I think it's generally quite positive for the Rand. And the only problem to that is a stronger dollar. But that can't last forever. It's been very strong for a while, for at least 2.5, 3 years. So I think that might fade sort of mid next year.
Okay, I like it. Well, thanks for filling us in on those. Is there anything else that you're excited about when it comes to investment at the moment? Because let's face it, there are a lot of people who are looking at all of this going, uh-oh, I just don't know where to put my money. What's safe anymore? And people run to things like gold or government bonds. What would you say are the safest bets you can make in a market like this?
I think the last time we spoke, I did mention that gold, I like gold at that time. It was sitting around $1,640. It's $100 higher now. It's $1,740. I still like gold. I think we can be a bit higher, just given the backdrop of what's going on and the uncertainty. You want something safe like gold. In terms of the market, from an overall perspective, I wouldn't want to take much risk in the equity market unless it was short term. There's a lot of economic changes and a lot of higher interest rates and higher inflation is not a great place to be investing in equities and across the board. So I'd certainly focus on bonds and a bit of gold as a very safe conservative outlook for now. You might not get the returns you want, but at least you'll have a bit of safety of your capital over time.
Right. And I mean, that's about as close as you're going to get to like straight up advice as is possible to dispense with. Of course, you have to make your own decisions. And this does not constitute financial advice. This is all just useful information that you could put into your own machine and determine the way forward. But thank you so much, Dylan Bester from Sky Castle International Investments and a business partner of Markets.com for a little look at what's been going on, especially with the crypto space recently. Markets Mondays brought to you by Markets.com. They will be taking a little bit of a break and we'll be back on the show again in January. Remember to follow the link on cliffcentral.com. In the meantime, to register with Markets.com, you will get a 30% bonus on your deposit. And follow them on Markets.com on all their different social media. You can find them on Markets.com SA is basically their tag. You can find them on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. All of that and a whole lot more. All right, Leigh-Ann Mole, nice to have you on. And thank you very much for making Monday fascinating for us with all sorts of charts about which drugs stay in your system the longest, how much you can get for a liver, which places are most sore for tattoos. You would never hear any of this if you weren't with us, right?
You'd never know.
Not only do we get like brilliant people on who can tell us about cryptocurrencies and what's been happening with FTX, but we also get all the useful information, the questions that you've always wanted answered. That's kind of what
there you go. Very
all
good.
Right, everyone. Have a happy Monday. We will see you tomorrow. Cheers, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.